started this conversation. I know this is not easy to go from like movement to talking, but I think it's important to do it safely and contained and in a place where we're actually being mindful of our words. So my name is Sabrih. I am the co-founder of Fusion Experience along with Ace Fusion over there giving hugs to people for a warm welcome. We are the founders and creators of Fusion Experience. We started Fusion Experience to foster not only a space of awareness, but just to bring a little bit of more of a queer-friendly environment to the Afro-Latinx community. So the idea was to break gender norms and invite people to know that no matter how they identify by gender, that they can come lead or follow despite that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah? Great. This is Ahtoy Juliana. She's over there. She helps us so much with what we do here. So can we actually give a little round of applause? A lot of times the people that do the most work are sometimes behind the scenes. She is the director of the salsa portion of Amade Flow. So she teaches beginner queer-friendly salsa classes. You should check it out. It's amazing. So that is our Juliana. I'm going to start just by saying or introducing people little by little. So the very first person, so the very first person that I'm going to introduce is actually my co-facilitator, and he goes by Keanu. Keanu, you want to come up for us? Let's give him a round of applause. Keanu, also known as the Black Queer Therapist, we're actually going to have you all the way at the end. It's going to help me co-facilitate the space. He is a therapist, visionary, and facilitator who finds joy in supporting the queer and BIPOC community in nurturing and affirming relationships between themselves and their bodies. Can we give him one more round of applause? We reflect and ask ourselves the right questions, that we look internally, individually, rather than point fingers. I think it's important to provide a safe space for everybody in every environment, and we can only do so by reflecting on our own actions and how we can continue to foster change. Can I get a yes?
Yes. A hell yes.
Hell yes. Thank you, Misha. With that being said, I invite you to notice, how can you use your discomfort as an invitation to identify what needs to be changed? I'm going to say that one more time. How can you use your own discomfort when tough conversations come up, as an invitation to identify what needs to be changed? Can I get a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes those conversations are hard, and that's okay. All right? Always. My second question is, how can you individually reflect so that you empower your inner circles, your inner communities, to provide a safer space for everybody? How can you individually reflect so that you empower your inner circles and your inner communities to provide a safer space for all? Can I get a yes?
Yes. Hell yes.
With that being said, let me continue to announce the lead by Ahtoy Juliana. Ahtoy Juliana has been a performer and educator in the global Afro-Latinx community for over 20 years. She is the founder of Baila Society Dance School and Company, a world champion, and an academic researcher. Let's give it up for Ahtoy Juliana.
We're all looking forward to being introduced so we can sit next to it here.
Yes. I know. We're getting more haters. Secondly, this person is named Isabel Freiberger. She has been a part of the community for 18 years. She is passionate about storytelling, expression, and social justices, and is a forever student of the arts. Let's give it up for Isabel. 3 panel today. We've had very deep conversations, but I also thought it was important to add somebody that was a part of the community that wasn't necessarily an instructor or identified as a quote-unquote leader, but actually a social dancer, a student, somebody that's among all of us all the time, taking class and can see things from a different perspective. For that reason, Riaan Taveras, advocate and last but not least, Vanessa Lopes is a sex therapist, dancer, educator, and mental health advocate for over 10 years of experience teaching in the Latin dance community. Her therapeutic and instructional approach is strongly influenced by the mind-body connection, pleasure, activism, and the need for ongoing communication. Yes. Vanessa is passionate about improving consent and quality of touch on the dance floor. Vanessa Lopes. Sabrih is going to be co-facilitating with Keanu, and then Ace is going to be in the back listening and monitoring the room as well. So if there is anything that y'all need, if you have any like personal questions, like questions not about the Zoom, or if you just need anything, you can either wave at Ace or wave at me, and we'll help you out. Okay? Amazing, thank you. If you're walking in, I'm sorry, we don't have any more chairs. I'm so sorry. But be a dancer and enjoy the floor. Connect to Mother Earth. Okay. I'm gonna sit my head down. Yes, it will be a lot of this. She wanted to go ahead and talk. I know I can talk for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So, hello again, everyone. My name is Keanu Jackson. If you missed it the first time, somehow keep him pronouns. I'm really honored to be here this day as a guest. I am not a mover, I'm not a shaker by any means. I took my first hip hop class yesterday. I know that's right. And I'm really excited to have this conversation, to join our panelists up here this evening. Before we get started, I do want to share a little bit of a content warning. As Sabrih was mentioning, we are going to be having a conversation that may delve into some tougher topics. There might be some mention of global harm, some global violence, or experiences that communities that show up in our bodies. As dancers, as folks who exist within this community, you all know the importance of taking care of yourselves, taking care of your bodies. And so I'm going to trust you all with paying attention to what it is that your bodies need throughout our conversation this evening. And if you need to take a moment, run to the bathroom, grab some water, get some air, by all means, do not wait for permission to do so. Listen to yourself, honor yourselves, and then come back in and join our conversation when you're ready. But as I said, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going to start just by saying I get nervous AF to speak on a mic. And so I'm going to be looking down at my phone quite a bit throughout this time because I took some notes beforehand to prepare. And so I don't freeze and then completely get off track. And I also don't just start talking out of my ass. I'm also going to try my best to speak slowly so that everybody can keep up and so that I also don't freak out. Anyway, yeah, I've known that I've been speaking on this panel and about these topics for about 2 months, and I've consistently procrastinated preparing for this conversation, especially at a moment when I think New York City's specific attention is like really focused on harm and how to make change, right? It's really change focused right now, and so I knew it was important, but I still found myself procrastinating. And this morning, I knew that I couldn't avoid it any longer because it was literally today, right? And so I sat down to meditate, and I was like, all right, these questions, I have them, let me prepare. And I started to notice that, like, my mind was going 1,000 miles a minute, and my hands were shaking, and my breathing was getting shallow. And I was like, okay, what's happening here? What's going on? And I realized that every single part of my life has been impacted by dance. I often choose to focus on the ways in which it's brought me joy, but my body remembers that that's not always been the case. I started dancing at a really young age and was always told that dance is something that's going to leave you once you get to adulthood, right? Like I've been doing recitals and things of the sort. And so being able to continue a life with dance was something that only really privileged people got to do, or like the best of the best, and I was neither, right? And so I never thought that I could continue dance past a certain age. And then I was introduced to the New York City Latin dance scene when I was 18 and was like super fucking, yeah, I saw a face, super fucking young for this scene. But it was amazing. I was like, wow, there's people dancing from all different cultures, backgrounds, ability levels, economic statuses, races, doing the same 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. The scene allowed me to start dreaming about what a life with dance could look like again, which is amazing. I was 21 years old when I took my first trip outside of New York City for dance. And I was 22 years old when I was first physically and sexually assaulted by a well-known studio owner and international dance instructor. Outside of assault, I've been harassed, groped, body shamed, insulted, and betrayed by people in the dance community, like I'm sure that many people in here have as well. My personal experience has included more harm than what I would like to communicate on, what I would like to offer details for. But I know that my experience is only the beginning, right? It's only the tip of the iceberg of what people have experienced here, unfortunately. So over time, I took some intentional space and did some healing and so on and so forth. And thankfully, my relationship with dance has changed a lot. It includes really, really supportive mentors and peers, people who speak out about their challenges, people that have validated my experiences and helped me to grow. And it's also really helped me to be around communities like this, spaces like this that offer conversations that are important, or questions, or smiles and hugs and questions like, can I hug? And so now I can say that my relationship with dance has changed quite a lot. Like it's feeling way, way, way better. It's connected me to my mind, my body, my spirit, connected me to a global dance community that speaks the same language. And it's also offered me some really beautiful relationships with mentors and peers and lovers and colleagues and some people who are here in this room, right? So for me, my relationship with dance has shifted quite a lot throughout the years, and now I see it quite as a medicine, right? A way of healing, a way of collective community building, things that are really important. That's it.
That's what I'm here for.
I'm just kidding. How have you as an individual been influenced by dance? What has been supportive and what hasn't been supportive?
I think that dance made me a lot more confident as a person. I'm still not super like social, but I'm way more social than I used to be. Like, so, just meeting so many people, being told no by so many people. You know, you ask them to dance, and that kind of builds your sense of self. Like, oh, this is not anything to do with me. It's just this person doesn't feel comfortable right now. That's okay. I think meeting so many people, like, you know, these people in life generally shape who you are. And like in dance, where else do you get to meet like 100 different people a week, you know? And so, yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you, Ryan.
I'm really nervous. And now I'm judging myself for not bringing notes, but that was so beautiful, both of you. I have been dancing for 18 years and teaching for about 17 of them, and traveling and performing. Dance, kind of like Vanessa said, has touched every aspect of my life. It has made me who I am, and it continues to affect me in so many ways every single day. I started traveling with companies and dance partners. I started traveling really young. I started when I was 19. And it's only in recent years that I've realized how that has had such an impact on me and the way that starting so young in this community and the way things are done prepared me to continue accepting things that I don't necessarily want to continue accepting anymore. And so I'm just really grateful to be here and to have these conversations and to hopefully start affecting change. That's not to say that dance has only been a negative thing in my life. It has obviously been a very positive thing in my life. It has been a career of mine for many years. And I think one of the most impactful things that dance has done for me is that it opened my eyes that I could dedicate my life to art. And I think growing up as a child, it's something that I always wanted to do, but I never thought it was an option, just from the way that I was raised. I always thought I had to get a real job. And then I didn't, so so I'm still here. I'm currently pursuing a career in acting, and the way that dance shows up for me in acting is both positive and negative. I'm realizing that there's a lot of perfectionist qualities in me that I wish I didn't have because of dance, and it's really screwing me over in acting, where you're supposed to be a hot mess. And while I am a hot mess, I'm really uncomfortable showing it. So here's to being more vulnerable and being a little bit more messy. I'm grateful to dance also because the most important people in my life have come to me through dance. And on top of that, I have not only been able to see the world, but I've gotten to meet so many amazing people. I've gotten to experience and participate in cultures that I wouldn't have been able to participate in if I hadn't been a part of this community. And dance and artistry are just a huge part of my anti-racism work and what has gotten me into being passionate about social justice. And so a lot of thanks goes to dance, and that's why I want to keep fighting for it.
I have 2 mics, but I'm going to use this one. So I said all the cool kids. My name is Ahtoy, and this is such a big question, so I think I'm going to try to narrow it down to just a couple of themes. Dance taught me about my own identity. The identity that I chose for myself, and also the identity that society imposes on me. So I'm an indigenous person from Guam, of the Chamorro people, and our people are the very first great sea navigators of the Pacific, and we have made the journey all the way off the Asian continent, from Guam, all the way to Rapa Nui, or Easter Island, right off the coast of Chile. And so we have this great, beautiful tradition that I and people like me didn't always know growing up, because we are a colony of the United States. A colony, so that means we are not politically autonomous. And so growing up, I really wanted to do ballet. I wanted to dance from a young age and really adore dance like all of us here. But I chose ballet, and I was really stuck on ballet, and I didn't realize that that was society signaling to me the value of ballet as opposed to what my own heritage dances were. So I pursued it really strongly, and it wasn't until I moved here by myself to the United States at age age 12 that I was away from a community of people that all looked like me. So I get into these ballet classes, and it's my first time being like one of two brown people in a room, and I was very confused as to why I was being treated differently. I was working with youth and ballet at that time, and so I didn't know that people thought I was Mexican, and I didn't know what that meant to people. They also used to try to dump me in the modern dance classes, which back then was where you put all the non-white people, and all the people who don't have the prototypical ballet bodies. And I did not want to do modern because I didn't want people to tell me what I was supposed to do, looking the way I do. But then I moved here at 17 and still like trying to figure out my identity. And the Latino community welcomed me. Like I kept looking, I kept going to pursue something else. And then all my Latino friends just kept saying, come over here. And it was such a nice, warm place to be. And through this journey since then, I've tried to embrace my own Latina identity. And this is something that I don't always share, but my mom's family came to Guam from Cuba. And it's not a part, it's like a part of me that I haven't always had the courage to own and explore, because I felt like it's something that I didn't grow up with. And yet, at this point, I've spent more than half of my life with all of you. So it's still an ongoing journey, but I have so much appreciation for it. I think the other thing that dance has taught me is that it's more than just this moment. It really deeply connects us to what came before. And you would think as an Indigenous person that that's something that I inherently understand, but because I've internalized white supremacy for so long, it's something that I'm rediscovering every single day. For us in the Afro-Latinx community, this dance connects us very deeply to the ancestors, to people who created this dance and preserved it in spite of, and maybe because of, all of the hardship and oppression that they themselves experience. When we realize that, we realize we're part of something really, really huge, all together here, forwards and backwards. I just, one other thing that is related to that, and I just want to hold space for Vanessa for sharing your experience with sexual assault, that I too am a survivor of sexual assault, and this is my way of being authentic and vulnerable with you all, but also to destigmatize surviving so that we can talk about it a little bit more. But since we're in a very intimate partner dance, I have struggled and still struggle with being here and interacting and participating in this way. But it's taught me a lot about all the different ways that we survive and find joy in dance.
I am in awe of all of you. We are in for a treat. Did y'all make these answers? No, but seriously, let's get into it, right? Although each of them have very unique individual experiences and relationships with dance, they're all touching on not just the joy, but how dance has introduced to them reclamation, how they've been able to not only rediscover parts of themselves that maybe a quieter part of them always knew to be true, but doing their damnness to bring to light this truth, right? And if there's anything that really just does put a smile on my face, it's really just the way in which folks are able to just connect through their truth. And so, as a person again who is not a dancer by any means, I felt seen, I felt moved through everything that you've shared thus far. And looking forward to just how the conversation is continuing as we're thinking about dance, right? Not just as an art form, right? But as a language, as a tool, as something that we get to not just discuss, but to envision, to imagine just something else and something greater. So yeah, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you so much, everyone.
We're gonna do a quick test on Zoom, so I'm gonna just talk for no reason whatsoever. No, actually, I do want to mention something really quickly. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you for sharing. The idea of that question was getting to know these beautiful folks, and as you can see, they are beyond just physical bodies, they are beautiful souls. All right, so for a round of applause, I was thinking if you don't feel like clapping every time we have this thing that we feel like, you can always do that in between each conversation. You understand what I'm saying? So one thing I did want to mention that I wanted to mention at the introduction is a lot of folks, it has come to light that this discussion may be surrounded by the recent activities that have been happening in the Afro-Latin dance community. But actually, this was planned last year. We thought, you know what, let's have a discussion, because a lot of times movement is beyond just that. It's beyond movement. And having a conversation is okay, and like Vanessa said, we need to destigmatize a lot of things in dance, and one of those things is having a proper, respectful, mindful conversation with your peers. And instead of creating separation, that we create bonds and connections, because at the end of the day, there's room for all of us, all right? Whether you're a dancer, a teacher, a promoter, an instructor, whatever it may be, there's room for all of us to exist exactly how we are meant to exist. Can I get a yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna move on. Is that okay? Okay. Is that okay? There are any similarities between what happens in the dance community and what happens in the world? Let me say that again. Are there any similarities between what happens in the dance community and what happens in the world? And before you answer, give me one second.
So for the speakers, if you're using that mic, hold it like, kind of like,
Would you like us to switch to this one?
you can use either one, I think they're both fine. But if you're using that one, just hold it like that. You should be able to hear yourself in the room.
Just project.
And project your voice.
Your student. No.
Thank you.
Is this good?
Yes.
Okay,
Come on, you got this.
all right. I don't want to start yelling. So what else? No, it's kidding. Okay, and if at any point, like, I stop speaking into the mic, someone just like throws something at me.
No. No violence in this room. Please give Vanessa a nice gentle wave. Like you are America's next top model or something. Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
All right. Okay, what happens in the dance community in the world? I'm going to give a super typical therapist response here and say yes and. Yes and. There are so many similarities between the dance community and what happens in the world. There is racial injustice, homophobia, misogyny, fatphobia, transphobia, gatekeeping, financial inequity, there's body shaming, personal violence, all these things. I can list off the isms and all of the things that impact the scene. Am I still on my...
Yes.
Amazing, thank you. And there's so many similarities, but there is something that's really, really special about this scene, and I want to actually get you guys involved a little bit with this. By a show of hands, who in here, or if you're on Zoom, throw a little emoji in the chat, but who in here has ever been so upset by something that they literally cannot find the words to express it? That's right. That's right. Now, by a show of hands, who in here has been so upset and then gone out to dance, came home, and forgot everything that you were saying? Yeah, sometimes, not always. Sometimes. This is what I thought. This is what I thought the answer would be. Thank you all for participating with that for me. In response to that, I'd love to share a quote. Two quotes, actually. Two quotes by Resma Menachem from their book, My Grandmother's Dance. And the first one is, movement is a form of language, a way to communicate what words cannot express. The second one is, when we move together, we remember that we are not alone. Trauma, the things that we move through in life, everything that we all kind of experience and carry, happens in our bodies. And we can't just think our way out of these things. Even if we learn all of the books and the isms and all of the things, we can't just think our way out of these things. It needs to be processed through our bodies as well. And what this community has that is so different from the world in general and from a lot of places that we get to experience is a collective and centralized focus on movement, on music, on singing, on dancing, on expression, and on play. This community inherently helps us to access some of the most useful and ancient ways of processing complex emotions and trauma. And I think that, with all of the isms that exist through all of the ways and all the world, but that is what makes this scene different. And that's what I love about it. That's it.
I'm saying this is the most prepared person. I saw these questions like on the way here. What was the question?
Are there any similarities between the dance world?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Are there any similarities between the dance world and the real world? Of course. Right. It's the same people in the outside world that are coming to dance. Like, just because you have a skill set, just because you have, you're part of this dance community, doesn't mean you're not affected by patriarchy and racism and white supremacy and all these other things that affect the real world. And so you have people coming out from the real world into the dance world, and you expect like a certain sense of community, you expect people to have certain principles, and they don't always, right? I think that we can get better about creating a community where maybe we check those things, or maybe we spread education, spread our our ideas, and see where we can find common ground and how we can share that with each other. Because it is also its own community. It's not just it's not just the entire world. It's the dance world, and so thinking about how we can take those values from the outside world, especially like in the Latinx world, where we have like machismo and all these things, and how we can make it a better place for everybody. I've been thinking a lot about that recently, especially with things that have been going on.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you have any kind of micro community, it's going to reflect the community at large. So we're going to see the same, just as both Vanessa and I have so beautifully noted. Thank you. That all of the isms are going to show up here just like they show up in the society at large. It is my hope that we can remember, like Ahtoy mentioned, that this dance and a lot of these dances that we participate, whether being of the culture or as guests, that they are rooted in resistance to oppression. And so when we see oppression happening on the global stage, we can recognize it and we can empathize with it in a way that would hopefully make the ancestors proud. Because we cannot deny the roots of this art form, these art forms. Yeah, we can't deny the roots of these art forms. And I myself, as a white person and as particularly a European Spanish heritage, I feel blessed every day to be able to learn from and participate from this culture and this movement and this dance, and I feel that it has made me a better person. And I feel it has made me understand the world better, and has made me understand my whiteness and my place in this world better. And I think that as a community, we hold a lot of power to use this community and this particular art form for resistance, because that's where it comes from. So, yes. There are similarities.
I need notes.
Notes. Oh my God, first a teleprompter.
I
know. Maybe another angle we can think about it from is because a lot of us here are minority or marginalized people, and we're a subculture or a micro community, right? The features of the system that we're all living are exacerbated here. We're subject to them in maybe a more severe way. Capitalism. We're all under capitalism. Capitalism makes all of our lives miserable, but especially here because we're working with very little money and we're all competing for it, that very little money. So capitalism makes us compete against each other severely, against each other here. And that's really tough. We're almost, we're like upholding features of patriarchy that make us believe that there's only winners and losers. And how is it that that very way of thinking and that system that we live in hurts us so much outside of here, and yet we bring it in here? There's so few of us, we're already disadvantaged in larger society, and we're doing it to each other. It's definitely something to think about. I also think that we might not realize that we have one very powerful tool to combat those forces, and that's our community. We have each other. We are a rare group of people that the main thing that we do here is interact face-to-face, body-to-body with somebody, dozens and dozens of people in a single night. Who does that? Like in regular life, right? When we do that, like we're here for that. And so if we do that, if that's such a fundamental part of what we do and why we're here, it means we have the power to come together as a community and to leverage that power, not only here, but in larger society. And we can actually make a difference because of who we fundamentally are as partner dancers, as a social dance community. So maybe that's a way to think of it in a much more positive way, how we can reflect who we are and bring that out into the world.
So it sounds like y'all don't really need me here. Like I can go. No, but I mean, like I don't really think I have much to add to what y'all have already mentioned, right? It's thinking about, the fact that, yeah, we are all folks who literally exist outside of this space. Like, have y'all been outside? Like, y'all been outside. y'all know what's going on, right? And, for a lot of us, it can be so easy for us to also just forget that unfortunately we also then tend to perpetuate the same stuff that's happening out there in spaces like this that many folks, yourselves included, are viewing as like a safe space or a safer space, right? We're using movement as a way to process the trauma, to process the pain, to process just like the overwhelming emotion that we experience within our day-to-day. And so I believe that as we are existing in these like micro communities, it is also like our responsibilities to like build our awareness to the ways in which we are also causing harm within these safe spaces, and use that knowledge as a tool to again further connection, right? Oop. A little word or something? Not me spitting out here. And yeah, I mean, again, like as we're building community, right? It's important to remember that community is not just being in the same space at the same time. It's really learning how to care for one another and care for yourselves as well. And you do that by bringing attention to what needs to be changed. You don't gotta uphold the status quo. You get to be different. You get to make changes, and you get to hold each other through that process.
Okay.
Okay, keep talking just for a little bit. I'm writing a definition now.
I keep going.
I find it so interesting that we, in this community, like Ahtoy was saying, that we subscribe so easily to these principles of capitalism and making dance a product. And we've lost sight of the artistry in a lot of ways. Not to be controversial. Not to be controversial, but I guess that's why we're here. Yeah, maybe there's a subtle invitation that as a community we can start to bring light to the way that we have just so easily fallen into this trap of capitalism, which of course we all want to make a living doing what we love, but maybe if we talk about it more, then we can realize that there's a way to make a living while also not giving up the artistry. And that's not to say that, you know, everybody has to go that route. There's people that prefer just entertainment over artistry, but just a subtle invitation to the community.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for adding that. Keep going, keep going.
Okay, capitalism.
It's okay, this is what the conversation is about. If it continues, let it continue. Go for it.
Okay, have you ever thought about our Congress model? I mean, why do we have it? Sometimes when you're in the scene, you just think that's the way that it is. But if you've been around for, I knew this day would come. As long as I have. You remember the very first Congress in Puerto Rico. And you remember how it changed our world. Right? Okay. So the Congress, very cool. It was an awesome thing because it gave us a way to be in this community and also a way to be excellent. I think that was like very exciting for most of us. But now today, within capitalism, which I'm now calling dead capitalism, you know how people academics say we're in like post-capitalism or like late stage capitalism? This is dead capitalism, people. We're way beyond that. This thing is making us miserable. It has confined us to a very specific way of doing our thing. Because it's the only way that we can sell it, just like you're saying, right? And I'm not advocating just for artistry, because artistry is super important. Maybe we have to think about it more broadly. We have to rethink all the different ways that we can be here. This is a social dance, right? We can be here. We have a right to be here as a social dancer. We have a right to be here as a solo dancer expressing ourselves. We have a right to be here as a teacher, as a student, as a performer, as an artist, as a choreographer, as a director, as an event owner. There's just so many different ways, but patriarchy tells us it's gotta be winners or losers. Another thing I think we need to think about is celebrity culture, or celebrity worship. Right, we have that in the world, and we have that big time here, right? Who are your idols that you uphold, that you don't question? What are they teaching you? What kind of people are they? What are they passing on to the next generation? Are they causing harm? And are we willing to let them come down from the pedestal that we place them on so we can hold them accountable and so we can make our community better? I think that's a tough one for all of us to think about.
Actually, before we continue, could you just reflect on that real quick? Ahtoy, do you mind just saying that one more time in any way that you want to say it? Just like, actually, you know what? That's why we're here. Don't even do it. We got you. Reflect on that real quick. Reflect on that real quick. In terms of celebrity culture, right? I got you. Celebrity culture. Who do we put on pedestals, right? And a pedestal is physically a different location, which means we heighten them to a different energy, vibration, position than we are, which means they're physically, mentally, and spiritually looking down at us, right? Who do we put up on pedestals within our own community that really should be on the same ground as we are? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Because I think that's something we should all really reflect on. And remember the question that Aubrey and I talked about at the beginning. How can you internally reflect on your own decisions within the Afro-Latinx community and use that as a tool to take action to make the community better? Right? So what Ahtoy just mentioned, reflect on that for your beautiful fun self. Yes, ma'am. Okay? Thank you so much. Moving on. May I move on, Keanu? for sharing. Side note, are we good on Zoom? Okay, great. Can I move on, audience?
Yes.
How's the audience doing? Y'all look happy over there. Okay, quick note, if anybody from this beautiful corner wants to move over there and sit on the floor, make yourself relax so you can see better, please feel free to do so. Come on over, come. Let's do it now. Let's do a quick shift in the room. Break the energy. Pass right through here. Walk like a model. Walk like a model, please. Model. Yes! We made it, y'all. We made it. Is that okay? All right, so this one has to do with safety within the Afro-Latin dance community. What does safety feel like in our community? What does safety feel like? And how can we cultivate a culture of safety within the Afro-Latin dance community? What does safety feel like? And how can we cultivate a culture of safety within the Afro-Latin dance community? You get the little mic. Please do not eat the little mic.
Is this close enough? Okay. All right. I'm trying to keep this and then not keep this at the same time. All right. Safety. Safety in our community, safety. I think this is a question that we should all probably ask ourselves, is like, what does safety in general feel like in our bodies, like as individuals? If we are sitting with ourselves and we're calm and we're settled and we're safe, what does that actually feel like? Like, where in your body is it? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? Like, for me, sometimes it's like this warm, fuzzy, I'm getting real woo-woo, but it's sometimes like a real warm, fuzzy, peaceful, calm feeling in my chest. My stomach is relaxed. Yeah, and so I'm able to speak freely and at ease and play and sometimes be a brat. That stuff is all out when I feel safe. And so I think if we all can connect with that feeling, that sense of safety within ourselves first, then we're able to kind of continue that out into the community, because then we'll know when the spaces that we are in are not feeling good for us, right? We all know that feeling when we're not we're not there, we're not that safe, in that safe place. So I think that question, if that's something that you all can sit with, either here, now, or when you leave here, I think that could be a really important question to start to ask yourself, or to talk about with your friends and family, or peers, or therapists, or counselors, or whatever, maybe your instructors. Almost ate it. And let's see. Okay. I have my notes. Cultivating for safety. So how to cultivate safety, right? How to actually create safety in our environment and in our communities. I think there are many ways to create feelings of safety, but in my opinion, long-term sustainable safety comes in really small moments, really, really often. So, like Ahtoy said, we get to interact with so many people every single time that we go out dancing. And how many times have you walked up to someone to dance and walked away not even knowing their name? Or where they come from? Or if they actually like to follow, or if they're just doing it because of the gender that they appear to be, right? And so, like, when you, in those small moments of asking someone to dance, asking them, hey, spend just a little bit more time, get uncomfortable. Spend a little bit more time getting uncomfortable to ask someone who they are. You know, like, you walk into, I've been a part of some other dance scenes as well, salsa, bachata, zouk a little bit, kizomba, fusion, whatever. I've gone to a little bit of everything. At this point, not everything, but a lot of little places. And I started to notice little things in the culture that's different in each community. And there's something that's very specific about the Latin dancing that I would say I see most of your faces at, is that we don't talk. Like, we don't talk. I've seen your face before, and we haven't had so long of a conversation. Yeah, and I wish to make that different moving forward. I want to be able to ask people to dance and say, like, hey, Hi, I'm Vanessa, and you're like, what do you do? What brought you here? Is this, like, what's your favorite social? What made you learn to start dancing? And get a little bit more comfortable in those small moments so that we can start to see each other as people rather than just as like objects that we practice our turn patterns on. Yeah? Let's see, notes. This is why I have these, so I don't start crying off. I think also just like being, what Ahtoy was saying before, like supporting people that you actually like as humans. People that, you know, motivate rather than belittle, that discuss, oh my God, this is something that I love about taking Ahtoy's classes specifically, is having an instructor that speaks about the history of dance. Speaking like there's so much in the movement that we learn that we can't embody if we just don't know. Right? And so being able to actually speak about the histories of dance and where it comes from and instruct and paying instructors who talk about that. Or who, if they're not talking about it, will direct you to someone who knows better than them. Be mindful about the identities that you hold as an individual and how those identities interact with the people around you. You know, if other people around you may not have as much privilege as you, be mindful about that and see if you can interrupt harm if you see it. Yeah. Something little, I think there's like so much drinking that happens in this scene or other substances, which is, everybody loves to drink every now and then, go for it, that's fine, all about it, but be just mindful when you're drinking on your own or when you're with groups of people, be mindful about substances because we're interacting with bodies, you know, like people's human bodies, so just something to be aware of. And then just two last things are like requesting and actually attending whole-length classes on consent, history, and body awareness. Like actually go, not just like, this is important, and then don't go. Like actually go, important. And this is, I thought that I would love to talk about with some of the instructors, organizers, promoters in the scene, but I think it could be really cool to have like a code of conduct that like is for the Latin dance scene as a whole. And this is something that I don't actually have like full-on thoughts of yet. Maybe.
Oh, we do.
Oh, that works. Amazing. But yeah, like the code of conduct, and it would be amazing for people who own studios or teach classes to like get in on this and you know, get vetted or have it be like something that is more universal. So there's a common language, so students know one, how to first like interact with spaces responsibly, and instructors know that there's like a rule book or a guidebook that is going to be necessary to follow. Yeah. Those are most of my thoughts, yeah.
I wish this was like a recurring book, but I legitimately need the question again.
All right. Actually, can I steal the mic from you while you do that? I'm gonna do a shameless, very quick plug, real quick, because I think that Vanessa mentioned something that's really important. When I said we, first and foremost, please give credit where it's due. In dance, where you learn things, in life, right? So when I said we're working on that, what I meant was we, as in there is a foundation that we have started together, right? 5 women together to help address the issues within the Afro-Latin dance community and to help find solutions in education, right? And so I want to tie that directly into what Vanessa is saying because it's important to keep this theme going and in awareness. So Ahtoy, Isabel, Leah, and Isabel Freiberger, and myself, we created a page called Not Just Chisme to talk about the injustices and educate people on what is abuse of power, what are these terms, what do they mean, do you understand, amongst other things. And I think it's important that something like this is created so that we can start to take actionable steps to do exactly what Vanessa was talking about, which is create a code of conduct for all studios, organizers, festivals, congresses, so that we understand what consent looks like on and off the dance floor, especially in places where you are hanging in the same hotel as people, and you are sleeping in a hotel, and you are mingling with other people. It is very important to educate yourself on what these terms mean, okay? I know I'm not as funny as Keanu, but I just wanted to present that and let y'all know that these 5 women, and specifically these 4 women, are powerhouses doing unpaid labor right now to create these things. Once again, we are not anybody to put ourselves on a pedestal. We just want to help create a foundation of change, and we can't do it by ourselves, which is where you come in and you educate yourself, and which is what you're doing right here, right now. So thank you. Thank you for being here, but I felt like I needed to put that in because it was directly aligned with what Vanessa is saying. She said she wishes something like that was being created. It is in the works, and we hope to continue to work on that. Okay. For Ryan. Here we go. Safety in the dance community. What does safety in the dance community, what does it feel like? And this is an individual experience, right? So for you, what does it feel like? And how can we continue to cultivate a culture of safety within the Afro-Latin dance community?
So I was actually going to mention that group that you guys created. I think it's an awesome idea. I love it. We're gonna get to
It's a dark lights for me. Hold please. Is that enough lighting for y'all? Videographers? You okay? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I love this group. I think it's great. I feel like people don't have enough places to come and tell the things they experienced, especially in dance scene. You go through something, you tell somebody, you're like, oh, that's crazy. Like, ooh, who said what? Wow, like, I can't believe it. And then they'll like, go take their class the next week. Or like, yeah, but like, they're so good, so like, I have to keep taking their classes. And it's like, you don't have that support system. It feels crazy to like, you just told somebody or a group of people that you trust that this person harmed you in this way, and then they're like, liking their reels and whatever, and it's like, I'm not saying like, full on cancel this person, but like, we should be able to hold each other accountable. We should be able to at least know that like, this person is harming people, let's address it, let's have them know that this is not okay behavior, they should have a code of conduct. And so I really wanted to appreciate that you guys created that group with 5 really intelligent people too. I think that's it for me, Thank you.
Y'all get why Ryan is here, right? Y'all get it, right? That perspective is everything. Thank you.
I also want to shout out Christina, and I want to point her out because she's, I don't know. Anyway, we have another person on our team who is also a tremendous help, and we're so grateful to have her with us. And we're growing, and we're taking our time to do the work as carefully and thoughtfully as possible. So yes, have patience with us. I also wanted to mention, just because it's relevant again, I am also a survivor in this community, and I think safety for me feels like being able to speak my mind on the things that I believe and the things that I think need to change or might need some tender love and care in how we participate in this community, just like we're doing right now. We have the space to talk about it and to talk about these things out in the open, because without that, we'll never have change. And so I think also safety for me is feeling safe to be authentic and to be myself. And that involves being able to speak my truth and to talk about my experiences. And I think that, just to kind of pinpoint or ping pong back to what Hi, I'm nervous. Hi, I'm Isabel Freiberger, and I'm nervous, and I'm tripping over my words. Anyway, but I feel safe enough to say that out loud.
Hey.
Woo. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, based on what you were saying as well, is I think that it has become so normalized in this community to do exactly what you were saying, where it's like, well, I want a good dance education. And yet, where can I find that without supporting people that cause harm? Because at this point, we have all been connected in some way to people that cause harm, because it is so pervasive in this community. And I think that there is nothing simple about this conversation. There is no clear path to safety, because safety looks and feels different to every single person on earth. And so I think that having these conversations is a really good first step, but also, you know, based on what Vanessa said as well, is recognizing, you know, what privileges we hold as individuals, and constantly thinking and looking outside of ourselves can also be a really good way to encourage safety in your space with others. And if you can encourage safety and want to create that for others while you don't have control over that, I think that you invite that for yourself as a way. That is not a way to say that we have control over everything that happens in our space. But if we can consider, how am I affecting those around me, then that's a good place to start as well. But again, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do because we want to be able to train in this community, perform in this community, teach in this community, and yet because we haven't been having these conversations consistently, and because we haven't been educating on consent, because there are no codes of conduct, because we don't have any sort of curriculum to put foundations of safety in place, it's like a minefield. And so I think that we're starting right now to hopefully foster that safety in ourselves and in our community. And that's something that's very important to me in my teaching, is I always try and consider, okay, who am I? What is the space that I'm holding for the people that choose to support me in my work? And I take that responsibility really, really greatly and really, really seriously. And so that is how I think about safety.
Really important things have already been said, so maybe I can take it from a different angle. When we use the word safety, I think a lot of us are thinking the opposite of danger, right? And maybe we're thinking, especially since what has come out in the last couple weeks, I think for a lot of you, you're thinking this doesn't really have anything to do with me if I didn't create any harm, or if I have never been harmed. And yet, in the last 2 weeks, I personally have walked into several spaces where I felt unsafe. It might resonate more if I said, I felt uncomfortable for being someone who has been speaking publicly about sexual misconduct. Why would that be? Why would I be made to feel uncomfortable for talking about something that I think most of us agree is wrong? And you would think that the only person I really have to be afraid of is the one who's going to actually hurt me, right? An abuser or someone who would assault me. But I've been hurt and made to feel uncomfortable by people who have questioned my experience, or who have questioned my motives for sharing my experience, for people who are having a hard time accepting that the ones that they admire the most are the ones creating harm. So we as a community, I think most of us are not abusers, but we still have a responsibility and a part to play as a community, because the great and pervasive harm might not be rape, but it's rape culture. It's all the ways that we think about how we regard women, how we talk about them, the jokes that we make, the jokes that we let slide, the way we look at each other and treat each other, criticize each other's bodies, talk about each other behind our backs, whether it's serious or not, it's all part of this greater rape culture. I have even been uncomfortable talking to other survivors. They want me to believe that there's a specific way to survive an assault. How could that be? I think we need to examine how much we've bought into rape culture. Maybe we're not the cause of it. It's definitely caused by something beyond us that we should also question. But how can we as individuals contribute to something greater in here that makes it easier for all of us to exist? It's more than stopping a rape. It's all these little things that we say and do. And I think maybe if we take a little time, even if it's just a few seconds, like you said, we interact with each other, take a little time, look at each other in the face, stop feeling really so self-conscious, because we're dancers, we always feel self-conscious. What do I look like in this moment? Does everybody think I suck? Let's just look for a second and wonder, what has this person been through? What are they bringing to this space? To me right now, they are in my arms right now. Where do they come from? And then instead of saying anything about that, just listen. Don't guess, don't assume, just listen. It's probably a really good and easy policy to start all over and make this into something really special and wonderful.
I want to reiterate something that Ahtoy just said. They are in my arms right now. Can you take that in for a second? They are in my arms right now. Do you understand what an honor it is? I feel like I'm getting emotional. Do you understand what an honor it is to be in somebody's arms? To share space with them? To exchange energy with them? It's not just what they mentioned before, just spinning an object. It is a soul. It is a living being. They're in my arms right now. I want you to take that with you wherever you go. And next time you dance with somebody, I want you to think of that over and over and over again. They're in my arms right now. And how can you cultivate safety with that? Because that's powerful. Thank you for that reminder. Another thing I want to go ahead and say is, can we take in what Vanessa said? And just for a moment, we're going to do a moment of silence, okay? And for 60 seconds, if you need to close your eyes, if you feel safe enough to close your eyes, you can. What does safety look like for me? What does safety look like for me? Just take that in for a second.
Is that this has the opportunity, every time you touch someone, it has the opportunity to be a spiritual practice, a connection with something greater than yourselves. And we all spoke about it in different ways today. But really thinking about not just what Ahtoy and everybody else here has been saying on listening when you're going to touch someone, and thinking about what you're going to, like, what you're holding and how you're holding and all these things, but also what are you saying when you're going to grab someone to dance? Are you saying as a lead, are you saying, I got you, come here, let's have fun? Are you saying that and then listening? Are you listening and then saying? Are you feeling and then thinking and listening? Are you even there? You know, so just take a moment to think about the intention that you're bringing every time you come into one of these spaces, not just when you walk in or when you ask someone to dance, but the whole way through. What's my intention to come here? Just how we may have intentions when we take a class or when we go to a specific place, or if you might have had an intention when you came here. What's your intention with all the interaction that you're bringing into it? It starts to become something way greater than just wiggles and turn patterns.
Yeah, so one thing that I would just like to just add to the conversation that we've been having, and again, like, thank you all so much for sharing and being so open with folks. You know, everyone you're all probably wondering, okay, so what does mobilization look like, right? What does it look like to do something, right? What does intervention look like at this stage? I would just like to offer to folks that intervention, right, there is not a one-size-fits-all approach. There are a variety of ways in which someone can choose to intervene when it comes to addressing harm, addressing violence in our communities. An organization that I have the pleasure of doing a lot of work with is called the Center for Anti-Violence Education. It's based in Brooklyn. They offer like a variety of different workshops on just like safety, bystander intervention, as well as doing empowerment self-defense. And so, if any of you out there are feeling a little like, okay, I feel called to action, I want to make some changes, I want to make sure that I'm doing my part and really just like contributing to a culture of safety within the dance community, I really encourage you all to reach out to look up the Center for Anti-Violence Education and just like check out a few of like their resources. Some of their community workshops, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, are free or like low cost for like the public to attend. And in my experience from working there for the last like few years, it's a really great opportunity to meet folks and to really start to get into the mindset of imagining, being curious, right, about what can safety look like in these communities that I hold.
Thank you so much. Audience, how are you feeling? You okay? Still alive? Okay, I know it's a little cold in here. Okay, the only reason why, I'll just put this as a side note, usually people sweat their behinds off in this space, which is why they usually don't have, they always have ACs and not heaters. The AC is not on, it's just that we're used to, you know, doing spins and a little 2-step, 3-step, 8-step, 4-step, let's include bachata in there. Start with me. Yes. That, what Keanu just shared was really important in terms of why you have a paper and a pen. I know we forgot you were there. But speaking of your paper and your pen, I would love for everybody to just take out their Fusion Experience panel discussion solution sheet. And just take a moment to look at it because we did it one from the perspective of directors and promoters and instructors. And we have some for students as well. But the idea behind this is just to show accountability for each other and for ourselves. And the reason why the list is longer for directors, promoters, and instructors is because it is our job to hold a safe space. I'm going to say that one more time because I think that was really important. It's our job to hold a safe space. If you are a director, a promoter, or an instructor of any sort, it is absolutely your job to hold a safe space, okay? Now, with that being said, before we go to the next part, can you put your papers down? And put your hands together for the panelists. Isabel, Riaan, Vanessa. Before I go on to the next part, is there anything that you feel your heart and soul needs set up?
I just want to thank Ace and Sabrih for not only creating, not only starting this social, but for doing things like this that kind of challenge the status quo and, you know, hold space for these significant conversations that we're having. And just the presence that you hold in this community. I'm really grateful to know each of you. And every single person, I feel so honored to meet it.
Actually, I want to say something in regards to that. I think it's really important to know that, like, none of us, we're not the popo. We're not the police. Like, we're not the popo. We do not cause harm to the Black and brown community. But I think it's like really important just to know that, like, don't look at somebody else to hold, like, don't look at the right over your right shoulder, your left shoulder. Look at your, like I said, your fine, beautiful self. Because you can start with yourself and hold yourself accountable and hold your peers accountable. Because guess what? Every person that is close to me in this room, I've had a really hard conversation with. Like a really hard one. Like we had one in DR. I remember it like yesterday. And that's okay. And sometimes you gotta sit with your peers and be like, hey, there's stuff that maybe that didn't sit well with me, and how does that look? And actually you can do that with your teachers if you didn't know. I'm just gonna remind you, if you have an instructor that has made you feel uncomfortable, that has gaslit you, that has made you feel any type of way but safe and comfortable, absolutely, you should be able to come to them. There have been many people that have come to my partner and said, hey, in this space, here's what happened, this is how it made me feel. And you know what my partner did? Ace did something about it, and they took action. And please, hold each other accountable more than anything, and yourselves accountable, yeah? Okay, Ace is gonna talk real quick, but before they do, I want you to know that we're gonna do a quick group exercise with each other, because I think it's important that now we like bond and form community and talk. And so I want you to just like look over your right and left shoulder and just give them a little smile and wave. And then don't talk yet. And then we'll get to that. Just the smile, wasn't it? Okay. Ace Fusion, everybody.
All right, I just wanted to give a quick input because I don't know if many of you know, I have a military background. And I just wanted to share like a little bit of a tip of how we work in the military in regards of, we use something called a buddy system. So I would really love to see more of us as dancers really look out for each other. Like if we were going out to, let's say out to dance, like, you know, in the club, because in the military you go out dancing whenever you're, you know, out by 5 o'clock. Some of us have crazy schedule, we sleep during the day and then we work during the night. But we would have a buddy system, and we would not allow any of our friends, if we went together to go out, we would literally, I'm gonna drag you. You better, we going home tonight. We going home. You're gonna get home safe. Does that make sense? So honestly, like, to me, like, it's very important for me to also bring my background into, you know, allowing you to understand that we could all be each other's keepers. It's not just up to the leaders. All right, does that make sense? Yeah. Always let your students know that we are a family, right? You know, and if, as instructors, we can kind of provide that family atmosphere and not just some bullshit. Like, don't be like, oh yeah, we family, and then you look down at your students versus look at them like, yo, we here together. I just have a little bit more experience, and I've taken a little bit more action into, you know, making sure that I'm this experienced so that I can teach you some little check out 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So please take it upon yourselves, all right? And understand that you all have responsibility. We all do, not just the leaders. Does that make sense? You are a leader, and in the military, you start being a leader from when you're E1. Does that make sense? So right now, just because you come to social, that doesn't mean you're any less than any of us, including the promoters. You actually worth a lot more. Does that make sense? You're worth more because this is where you put your dime at. So our goal is to make sure you're safe. No fucking bullshit. Does that make sense? I've had people report a whole bunch of things to me and literally, hey, bro, I love you, but you can't come into the space no more. Until you do some actual work. And we provide services to a therapist. We look, boom, 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 boom. This is what you need to do. Unless you do these things, you're not allowed to come to my space again, our space. Does that make sense? Thank you, everybody. Yes.
Really quick, this will be my last, I promise.
No, go for it.
The work, everyone that's in this room is already kind of interested in this, no? Everyone who's in this room is in this room because they are spending their time doing this on a Sunday. You know, so the work, yes, this being here right now is important, but then when you leave and you go to a social next weekend, or you go to a club next weekend, or a class this week, or next month, or next year, and you see something happening, or someone being treated in a way that's not, that doesn't really go against, that goes against your values, or goes against any of the things that we spoke about here today, or goes against anything that you personally hold to yourself, that is when the work really, really, really comes out, right? Being able to say, hey, that doesn't work, or hey, let me talk to you on the side. Yeah, so being here, great step. Creating this space, and creating this space like this often, important, but really doing the work constantly, that's where it's gonna work. And so thank you guys all for being here to help this go further. Yeah.
Thank you. In yoga, we actually say that the true work starts after you leave your mat. So the spirituality actually doesn't happen in your asana practice and your movement. We say that it is when you leave the room, it is how you treat others, it is how you respond when you are triggered, it is how you hold space for each other, etc. Yeah? Alright, so I would love for you to, speaking of yoga, no, I'm just kidding, we're not gonna do it. Downward facing dog, no, okay. So this next part is actually so that you could activate your vocal chakra and not just feel like this is a monologue, but actually a conversation. But so that we can do this in a timely manner and also just like get to know one another. What I would love for you to do. That's gonna happen after. I got you, but yes, thank you for reminding me. Instructors, I haven't forgotten about you. Remember your little index card because you know we want to do that. Oh, if you were an instructor that walked in late, please come see me during the group activity. Thank you. This group activity, so just what you're gonna do is you're gonna break off in groups of 3 or 4, and yes, everyone is doing it. Yes. I mean, just kidding. Consent first, okay. If you feel comfortable and safe, you can do the group activity. All right. So the questions are in your questions for group activity slash sharing, and this was a quote that I actually got for Keanu and quoted him, and it says, lean into the discomfort to change the norms. So there's some comfortable slash uncomfortable questions there that I invite you to ask each other, and just take three minutes to talk to one another. Please introduce yourself mindfully, respectfully. Please look at somebody that you've never met, because I think that's important. Please ask pronouns. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Not to talk unjustly about anybody, that is just actual statistics and facts. And so, how can we keep men, allied men, accountable? And how can they support change, right? That's a deep question. All right. I'm gonna move on. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. I like consent, so I just ask, because consent, you can consent multiple times, we know that, right? Okay, just wanted to remind everybody. Okay, so, will you take over for questions? So, Ace wanted to open it up for a few questions from the audience, so Ace is gonna take over this portion. Yeah.
I don't know why you put it right there. So, I know there were some people that had their hand raised. If you have any questions for the panelists, I'll be here to pass.
Oh, and quick side note, please ask a general question for the entire panelists, for everybody. Please do not ask one specific person. We would like for everybody, I have told the panelists, and I will tell you, they will only answer if they are comfortable answering. Because, once again, consent is key. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Question. You still want to answer?
Please introduce yourself and pronouns.
Hi, my name is Guillermo, and what was the second one?
Pronouns, please.
He. I'm a he. Or he, him. My question is about capitalism. Because I'm definitely in the minority. I'm definitely going to be in the minority, I'm going to say. I would call myself more of a laissez-faire capitalist. I do believe in free market economics. Mainly because, this country gave my family an opportunity because they live under a dictatorship, under a communist dictatorship. Now, I do see the problems with capitalism, like Isabel said. Isabel talked about like the zero-sum game. If there's winners, that means there needs to be losers. I don't subscribe to that. And I do believe that even something like this, or I could point even to someone like Ace who came to New York, I believe it's the free market that also has allowed Ace, because there was a need, and there's a need for this here, and I do prescribe that to the free market economics. With that said, I am open, I'm open to creating a bridge for those that don't support capitalism, and I do see the problems within capitalism, like we've seen it with big bank bailouts, which I'm against. I believe that if Wall Street gets bailed out, Main Street should be bailed out as well. So my question to the panelists is, for someone like me who may be, who is on possibly the opposite side, what kind of bridge can we create to still work together to a common solution?
Can I?
What you said you're from a country that had a communist leader. Where are you from?
Oh, my family came from Dominican Republic. So we had 2 dictatorships back to back. Trujillo and then Balaguer.
Gotcha. Okay.
I need to define capitalism, just for anybody who needs this. An economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit. Please go ahead.
Dictatorship.
Well, okay, so I'm also Dominican. My parents are from the Dominican Republic. Neither one of those dictators, were communists. I personally consider myself a communist, socialist / communist. So like it's right up my alley. Capitalism is so deeply evil in ways that we don't even understand. It started with the transatlantic slave trade. So literally the first capital was human beings. So like black people being stolen from Africa and enslaved in the United States is how capitalism started. So from its roots, it's already a horrible system, right? And then we see in the ways that it unfolds every single day, like with these congresses, even in the dance scene, right? A socialist model is a better alternative to the capitalist model, because even if you have the same goal, like let's say we have 100 water bottles, right? A capitalist will say, I want to sell 100 water bottles because I want to make a profit off of these 100 water bottles. A socialist will have the same water bottles and be like, how can I distribute this to the people who need 100 water bottles? So it's the same goal of giving out 100 water bottles, but the intent is completely different. And so when you have money as your main motivator, it creates so many evil problems. Like we have, people say like money is the root of all evil. And that legitimately manifests itself in so many different ways. And in the dance scene, it's no different. I don't know the original question. I'm sorry.
How can we make it bridge the gap to come to equal playing ground?
Yeah, because I don't like, for example, I wouldn't say that capitalism, the way that I see it, should always be for profit.
Sure.
I do believe in also common good, and I do believe in a mixed market economy as well. So,
I have one word.
Yes.
One word is intention. What is your intention? Like really, what is your intention? And reflect on that. Because a lot of times, you know, why are we doing what we're doing? Why is it that we want to sell our product or our service? So the middle would be like having our own good intentions will allow us to be you and I be me. You believe what you want, I believe what I want. But our intentions, they have to be pure at the end of the day. That is what has gotten me here. My pure intentions. Does that make sense? That's all I got to say when it comes to, you know, in that standpoint. Does that make sense?
I think that what Asa said is really important if we already live in the system of capitalism, right? So if you live in this not good system, what way can we make it less bad? But in terms of living in the system has to be approved. Like we cannot live in capitalism. It's hurting so many people. There are literally millions of homeless people in the United States who die every year. Every year, millions of people die, and we don't notice them because they don't have money. Who cares? They're homeless. Whereas a different system, we have literal billionaires. Like 1 billionaire could give away his money to the entire world and no one would be poor. Just one. And there's so many other people. If you had, like, I saw a meme on Grams that was like, if you had one monkey who was hoarding 100 bananas and not giving it to any other monkeys, you would study that monkey for his sociopathic behavior. But then we have human beings who hoard all this money and we don't examine why they're not doing it. Oh, well, he earned it, you know? He has people working for him when he did. I could go on this forever. Let me ask you a question. I don't think there's a real way to bridge the gap. I think that we just need to, the best way if you want to bridge the gap is start learning about why capitalism sucks.
I do want to add something real quick. Everything that happens on a macro scale happens on a micro scale right within our communities, okay? So that is the definition of what intersectionality means. The intersectionality of different injustices all connect, okay? With that being said, Ahtoy said this a very long time ago. And this is, I want to answer your question and put it right back into the Afro-Latinx community in my perspective. Hire more women. Hire more women, hire more women, hire more queer folks, hire more women. And that POCs, black women are almost never on flyers. Serena always brings awareness and education to this, and I am so grateful to know her because she always brings that to light, and I think it's so important, right? Black women, how can we uplift their voices and their faces and their literal talent within the Afro-Latinx community? That's how we bridge that gap in a way, is by hiring the people who are literally seen as less than. The patriarchy, a system or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. Women and queer folks. Let me add that there in the definition since it's not there. Does that make sense? That is my interpretation.
I was just going to say that I don't know if there is a gap that exists just yet because we live in a deeply capitalist system which cannot be connected to so many other systems of injustice because it's all under the umbrella of white supremacy. And so I don't think that we have a gap just yet because this community exists under capitalism because we all need to survive. And so going back to what Ace said is bringing in that piece of intention and bringing in ways to divest from that within our community, and it can show up in so many different ways. So I don't know if that was helpful at all, but yes.
I think some practical things that could be done, just to kind of create more equality in the scene, offering sliding scale tickets, offering scholarships, giving people opportunity to come take classes pro bono or for free. What else? Hire people who are people of color or all the things that we already named. But I think if you're looking for really, really practical solutions, a great place to start would be your own individual classes. Looking at the price point of your classes, how often you're marketing, who you're marketing to, and how you're offering more opportunity to people who maybe can't afford those classes right now.
Thank you for the question. I like the question. Thank you. My love, I think we could wrap it up now and the instructors, be on their assignment. Riaan?
Oh yeah, so this is, we wanted to do a quick, sort of like a pledge, but more like a commitment or vow for the instructors. And this is a way not only for us to keep ourselves accountable, but for the instructors to keep themselves accountable. So what it looks like, I'm gonna do an example, and then I'm gonna bring this on to the next person, which, you know, you're next, right? Okay, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Okay. And this is what it looks like. We asked the instructors to write on a quick index card, and if you didn't get to do this, please feel free to do this because I'm asking this of all the instructors if you want to. And to come up here, or just to stand up where you are and say, "Hi, my name is Sabrih. I'm a yoga instructor, and I vow to teach more about consent in my classes, body dynamics, and mindfulness." Thank you so much.
I vow to create a system of action to resolve misconduct.
You've done worse. You've done scarier things.
Everyone, my name is Vanessa Lopes. I vow to honor and respect the humanity of those I work with, work for, and lead. I will never minimize the impact that all the isms have on our individual and communal growth.
Hello everybody, I'm Nisha, and as an instructor, especially since I work mainly with children, one of the things that I vow is to always allow them to be their authentic selves. When you talk to be authentic, I feel you are a better human being.
Yes.
Anybody else? Don't be shy. Let's see. Anybody else? Going?
Thank you, Bruno. Give it up for Bruno Rodriguez, everybody.
Hi, my name is Bruno. I'm also a Latin instructor, and I vow to fully honor the social and moral responsibility of being an instructor and representative of this community.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Yvonne. I'm an instructor and promoter as well. And I vow to inspire courage through personal example.
Hi, my name is Jessica Holt. I am a salsa instructor at Bible Society. I commit to hold a safe space to my best ability for all people who come into my circle and in this Afro-Latinx community, to teach more about consent, to teach about respect, to defend the vulnerable, and be an example to my students. And I also thank Ahtoy for helping me in this journey.
Yes. Anybody else? Going once. Oh, here we go. Thank you. Please remember to state your name.
Hello, my name is Ahtoy. As an instructor and student owner, I promise to maintain a safe and accident-free zone while instilling in my students that they should always treat people like people.
Yes, please, come on up. Serena Spears, everybody, come on up.
My name is Sabrih Spears. I teach multiple dance styles, mostly in the Afro and diaspora dances. I vow to serve the community first. I vow to promote individuality and self-expression. I vow to offer sliding scale and scholarship opportunities for the most underserved in our communities, because very often those are the ones who need this art the most, and it comes from them. I vow to recognize what voices are not being heard in a lot of our spaces, and I vow to be a safe and welcoming space and an admirable Black queer woman in this space.
Anybody else? Please. Leah. Let's give it up for Leah, everybody.
I'm sorry, that was the first one. I'm Leah. I'm an Afro-Latinx coach. If you want to know why I say coach, come have a conversation. I vow to foster a space of safety, consent, inclusion, and non-judgment for the individuals I work with.
Come on up, and a protest, everybody.
I don't know if I'm nervous to do this, but anyway, I'm Carol Flores. I'm a salsa dancer and a salsa instructor. And I vow more than anything to continue to show myself as an imperfect person, dancer, and teacher that I am, and to hold space for accountability for me and for everybody that's a leader in this community, and to continue to try to create safer spaces for everybody.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Thank you so much. That was so powerful, and I just had that idea on a whim, and it's like, you know, speaking of Carol, at the Queer Afro-Latin Dance Festival last year, she asked such an important question. I've been reflecting on it for an entire year. That's how important this question is. And she said, she asked the panelists, I don't know if you remember, because you were one of the panelists. She asked, well, how can we keep each other accountable? How can we keep the leaders accountable, right? And I hope you were able to answer a little bit of that question here today, because that question stayed with me for so long. It was so powerful that I was like, but how? How do we do that? And I think many of these panelists answered that for us today. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your power. It takes courage, y'all, to come here and show up and use your voice. It takes courage. It takes courage to turn your own trauma into a conversation of growth and education. That takes fucking courage, okay? So, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists. Thank you for your time, your expertise, your spirit, your soul. Thank you. May we continue to be mindful in and out of dance, right? The work starts when you leave this room. Wanted to mention COVID continues to impact specifically disabled people, so please be mindful of disabled people, even if they're not always present in the Afro-Latinx dance community. They are very important and are also part of the minority community, and so we need to be very mindful of them. So mask up if you need to, be mindful, once again, in and out of dance. Aubrey is doing something very important that she's going to tell you about, and then I'll wrap it up. Go ahead. Aubrey Salzman, everything.
So this is kind of in line with the safety question that we were discussing earlier. When some of us leaders were having a discussion about what can we do going forward? How can we help our community? What kind of, what does this even look like? What can we do? And to give credit where credit is due, Jaime had a great idea of teaching a workshop of etiquette and safety and consent. So, thank you, Jaime. So I am developing a workshop that's going to be about social dance etiquette. So it is about safety, consent, do's and don'ts on the dance floor. Because I was just reflecting on the classes that I see in New York that I've been to, the instruction that I received over the years. They teach us moves, they teach us technique, but nobody ever taught me what was right and wrong in a social dance, right? Hand placement, how to ask someone to dance, what to do if you feel uncomfortable in a dance, how to deal with that as a follow and as a lead, okay? So those are the topics I'm going to be talking about. It's going to be for any dance style, it's going to be for any level, it's for everybody, because there's not actually going to be much dancing, it's going to be like discussion and exercises, okay? It's going to be at the end of March. I don't have a specific date yet, but it will be probably the last week of March. So if you follow me on Instagram, it'll be on there. I'm sure Fusion Experience will post it as well. And if you just want more information about it, you can come and talk to me as well. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Share it with your community. And also, if you are an instructor, please, I encourage you to steal this idea and do your own workshop. This is something that I'm going to, in the future, incorporate into my salsa curriculum. Once I teach it, and I'm probably going to teach it regularly, so please also do it. This is something that we need, yes?
So now, we're going to transition this space into a social dance floor, literally. What we're going to do next, feel free to conversate with each other. We're going to bring out empanadas for sale and water. But I encourage you, before you leave this space, to get to know one another.